Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is going to be part 2 of my spiritual birth story of my son. The initial video was too long, so I'm gonna have to split it in half to make it to where it will fit now. So I'm going to now skip it into the next part of the video. The front door so my husband can go ahead and start putting him in the car. And the contractions were still coming, so I went ahead and I started calling everyone, letting them know that, hey, he's probably coming today, it's time to get ready, I need someone to be able to come pick up L'Oreal. And so we start heading over to the hospital around at 5:30, and we get to the hospital around, I believe, like 5:50 or 6-ish, something around that. It's only 25 minutes away. So we start. As soon as I get to the hospital, I find out that I'm 6 to 7 centimeters dilated. Me being shook, I had no idea that I was that far along. I thought I was probably like a 3-4 pushing it. I had no idea that I progressed that much and that the Lord allowed me to progress that much at home. And the good thing is that we didn't eat before we went to the hospital because I was hungry. And I was like, Lavelle, I do want to get something to eat. Because I know once I get there, I won't be able to eat for a long time, depending on how long labor is. And we went to several areas, but they were all closed, of course, because it was like 5 in the morning. So I was like, what, let's just go to the hospital. I won't worry about it. I'll eat afterwards. And good thing about that is because I would have had the baby in the car. Thinking about it, it's because as soon as we got to the hospital, they put me into admitted me into a room, and the contractions started getting a lot crazier and a lot closer together. And mind you, as soon as we got admitted in the room, it was literally 50 minutes later that I had my child in my hand. So when we got admitted, my sister-in-law is putting up the bouncing ball because we had to deflate it because we had a small car. So she inflated it, and as soon as she inflated it, my water broke. And when my water broke, the contractions actually were on top of each other, literally a minute apart, maybe 30 seconds off, a minute on again. And it kept going like that for maybe 3 minutes to when I started okay, I can't stand anymore. My legs are shaking. They're shaking as if, when you're doing squats for so long and you're okay, my legs are about to give out. That's how it was. My legs were seriously about to give out, and I was like, okay, I need to sit and lay on the bed. My nurse Kim was awesome. She was just like, okay, let me check you. So she checked me, and she's like, you're at a 10 centimeter. And I was like, no way. Throughout this whole thing, my mindset in it was I'm going to be happy. I'm going to have a positive outlook on labor. This is what I'm meant to do. This is, the Lord made me this way. It made me a female to bear children. This is what I'm meant to do. So I was shocked that I was 10 centimeters. I was happy. And that's when it kind of got a little crazy, because as soon as she checked me and she's like, you're a 10, I was a couple seconds later, I'm like, whew, I have to push. I was like, I have to push, and I'm looking everywhere, at everyone, I need to push. And she's like, no, don't push yet, don't push, you need to breathe through. And I'm like, what do you mean don't push? She's like, the doctor's not here yet. So I'm trying not to push, but when you're going through it naturally, you can't hold nothing back. You can't. You're literally it's like everything in your body is I need to push. So I start pushing, and my mom and my sister-in-law Natalie finally came into the room, and I'm like, where's Hannah? She's missing, which is my sister. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's missing. But then I'm like, I have to push, and literally all you hear from me is moaning. I am moaning my heart out as if we're in a sex scene. I'm moaning. So I'm moaning through all these contractions, and I'm literally pushing, and I feel like you really feel like you're just pooping. You're having like a big dump. And with my first one, I pooped, so I was expecting me to poop with the second one. And so I'm pushing like I'm pooping, and the nurse, like, I felt his head pop out, and the nurse is like, okay. She holds his hand, her head, my son's head, in her hand, and then she has the phone in the other hand, calling the on-call doctor, saying, you need to get in here right away, the head's already out. And so they all rush in, and they literally dressed the doctor up as if she was Iron Man. Like, literally, they put the gloves in, put all the stuff on, put the thing and the hat on, and she literally caught the baby. She caught my son, him coming out, because I wasn't stopping pushing. And it was 7 on the dot, exactly when he was born. And let me tell you, it was the most beautiful experience ever. Literally the most. I'm not saying that my experience with my daughter wasn't beautiful, but there was so much complications with my first birth that I wasn't able to really like enjoy it like I did with my son. With him, I like got to hold him as soon as he came out, skin to skin. My husband was able to cut the umbilical cord, which was awesome because he wasn't able to with Lottie. He was smaller than my first daughter, but he looked just like his father, and it was just awesome for me to say that I had a natural labor. I was so happy to say that I did it. I'm 21 years old. I did not tear. I had a 5-hour labor from 2 to 7 in the morning. That was the 5th thing, that I didn't want to labor more than 2 hours at the hospital, or 2 or 3 hours at the hospital. I only labored at the hospital for 1 hour and 20 minutes, give or take, which was crazy to me, because that was like the 5th thing that I kind of forgot about, because I was just like, I'm just going to labor at the hospital. It's going to be however long it's going to be. But I had a 5-hour labor, no tear. He's perfect. I went natural. I was able to get up and walk again. I didn't lose a lot of blood. I wasn't cold. I didn't throw up. I didn't have any of that experience that I had with my first one. And it was just such a 180. And honestly, I can say that it was because God was in it with me. I made sure I had worship music in the hospital. I made sure that I declared every single little thing that I asked for throughout the whole 9 months. And I am my worst enemy. I suck. And I self-sabotage so much, and it's so horrible. But I trained myself throughout these rest of the 9 months of me being pregnant, telling myself, like, I can do this, even though I did have some discouraging moments and some disappointing moments, because there was times where I'm like, I'm watching all these other birth vlogs, and I'm like, how can I do this? They're screaming, they're in excruciating pain. Like, yes, I say I have a high pain tolerance, but when you're actually, like, in the moment, you don't know what you're gonna do. You don't know what's gonna happen. So I literally was like, if I need an epidural, I'm just gonna get an epidural. Like that, I kind of like lost my mindset on the epidural at one part of my pregnancy, but then I kind of got myself back on to where, like, no, I want it natural. No, I want it like this. I asked for it. What the Lord, I believe he has a scripture in Matthew saying that if you declare it, or if you declare or pray for it, that the Lord will give it to you. So I made sure that that was my scripture throughout the whole pregnancy, of me declaring all those 5 things for my birth. And it is absolutely beautiful to look back at, and to be able to tell my son, like, his birth, and to tell my daughter that she can do anything if she has God in it. And I want all your other moms, don't be afraid. Even if you're gonna get an epidural, or even if you're gonna do a at-home like birth, it doesn't matter. Whatever your birth plan is, like, involve God in it. Like, God will make it 100% better. Like, we all were crying, we all were overjoyed, because birth is a beautiful experience. I had such a wonderful experience, and that I can only say was God. God literally answered everything. I didn't have any pain medication after I got out of birth. Postpartum was another thing, but that it's another story too. But I didn't have any pain medication once at the hospital. No epidural, no like pills. I did have a stool softener because I was like, let me just make sure my stool's soft whenever I go poop. But I was able to shower right away, able to get up and hold my son. I was able to get up and, you know, clean myself and be independent. So that was one thing that was real beautiful to me, and I wanted to share it with you guys. I think the Lord wants me to share it to you because He wants to be in so much more births within this, like, within people, within a baby and a mom and their family, and He wants to be there with every single one of you guys, and He wants to make it the way you want to, but are you gonna allow Him to be there? And I'm so grateful that I was able to allow God to be there in those moments, and I couldn't ask for it any better. I cry sometimes when I think about it and what God has done for me, because I am a sinner. I am no good of a person. I still sometimes had doubt, and as sadly as that is, He still gave that to me. He still gave me a beautiful son. He given me like so much more than my heart can desire. And if He can give that to me, who, like, I was a Christian all my life, and I effed up. I messed up on my way. If He can bless me, like, He can bless you. He can do whatever He can in you. And this is just like an encouraging thing for anyone, but for you mamas out there, you can do it. You can do it. And thank you guys so much for watching. Let me get my little one so y'all guys can see him. I'll be right back. He is beautiful. Oh, I can't adore him. Here, he looks just like his daddy. I don't know if I can get a good picture of him for you guys. Look at him. He's gonna be hungry and want to eat. But he was 7 pounds 12 ounces, 21 inches long, and he's the candy to my eye. He's my first little boy. So I have a boy and a girl. I can't believe I'm 21, but yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys find this really encouraging. I really do. And please subscribe and like if y'all guys want. If not, I'm still gonna be strutting, still gonna be moving forward and making more videos. Thank you so much. Bye.